Hey everyone, welcome to the OklaRoots YouTube channel. Today we're going to do what I consider a Boost Your Sojo pouch. Yes. So today we're going to go over the Peekaboo pouch by Lauren Mormino, which is a great project that you can go from picking out your fabric, cutting, stitching together, done, all in one day. So this is the pouch. It is so stinking cute, guys. It looks harder than it is. We've got these beautiful angles on the side. We have a nice boxed bottom, this big zipper on top. When you open it up, it opens really wide, which is something I really like. It's not like a small opening. It's a big, wide opening. You can fit lots of stuff in here. It's a large size, which I really, really like. But when I was looking on her website, I saw somebody left a review for the pattern, and they said that they scaled the pattern down to 81%. Now, we're going to go over how to print the templates at what sizes in just a minute. But using 81%, I thought that was such an interesting, kind of random number, so I had to give it a try. And oh my gosh, it's so cute when you scale this pattern down. Look at this cute little one. So this size, which is the normal size for the pattern, is quite large. And I think it's great for like your countertop or underneath your sink or just like on your dresser. This one though is great for travel. So this is the same type of thing. The angles, the front, nice long zipper up top, nice wide opening just like that. So I wanted to show you a third version that I made. This time I just pieced together a bunch of random strips of fabric that I got in a jelly roll, and I added that as my center panel. And it turned out so stinking cute. I mean, look at that. Isn't that adorable? So this is a pattern that you can do a lot with. It is a very, very beginner-friendly pattern. It is a very basic pattern. You can leave it as is, which is mostly what we're going to do today in the video. I have a couple tweaks, and I'll explain that to you once we get to them. But it is also a bag that you can build on. You can start adding some pockets. You can add a strap, make it a crossbody. You can do a lot with this pattern, which makes it one of my favorite patterns, honestly. I love patterns that give you the option to build on them or keep it super basic if that's what you need. So like I said, this is a very quick sew. Now, at time of filming, today is March 20th, 2020. We're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and for most of us, things are just really weird, right? For some of us, things are very scary. I know we're all processing what's going on in different ways. I want you to know that I am here as a distraction, and I am here for you, all right? I want to show you fun things you can do while you are at home. This project specifically is a great one-day project. You can use whatever you have. You don't have to leave your house to go buy fabric. Use scraps, piece it together. If you're a bag maker, you probably already have a lot of the things you need for this. If you don't, there are a lot of online shops you can order from. But I really want to encourage all of you to find time every day, especially while we're dealing with this, to do something that makes you feel light, that makes you feel happy, that gets your brain off the news. You know what I mean? Focus your attention on something that brings you joy. You're alone right now, so am I. We're all alone right now. But we're all alone together, right? We're all in this together. And there's something beautiful about that. And so one of the things I've been thinking a lot about lately is, what are we going to think about this 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And I think when we look back on this, it's going to be a shocking moment in history, but shocking in a good way too. The way we see people come together, the way we see strangers help strangers, neighbors help neighbors, everybody figuring out a way to help each other and protect each other. It's shocking what humans are capable of doing when we need to. And I hope that after this is all said and done and we go through the rest of our life, we don't forget what we learned from this. We can do hard things, right? We can go through hard times. And we can go through them together yet alone, which makes no sense, but it's true. And we will get through this. Things will get better. And I personally cannot wait to hug so many people. Honestly, I am not a big hugger, but right now, knowing that like every time we go for a walk, we have to cross the street when we see somebody, like I just want to hug everybody so bad. So when this is all said and done, if I run into you, you're getting a hug. All right, so today we're making the Peekaboo bag. It is a happy bag. It is a one-day start to finish bag. You're gonna love it. It comes together well. I didn't say any curse words when I was making this bag, which is a big thumbs up for me. So if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, please consider clicking subscribe down below. If at any point you like this video, give it a like. If you have any questions, comments, shout outs, anything you want to say, leave them in the comment section down below. Don't forget, at the very top of the comment section will be a comment from me to you. It has timestamps for every single part of this bag. So if you just want to skip over most of the chit chat and click on that timestamp to get to what you're looking for, they'll be right there. If any of you watching this feel extremely isolated, having a hard time processing what's going on, need someone to talk to, you are more than welcome to email me. I'm Jessica@OklaRoots.com. I also encourage you to join our Facebook group. There's a lot of people in there making all kinds of things. You cannot go to the Facebook group and not leave happy. I'm just telling you, everybody there is your biggest fan. I promise. So if you need to pick me up, if you need a community to chat with, please consider joining the OklaRoots Creatives Facebook group. It is just a happy, happy space on the internet. All right, let's get started. So first, I suggest downloading Adobe Acrobat Reader. This is a tool that most of us use to print out our templates. It's the best way to make sure you get the accurate size templates when making a bag. Open your file in Adobe Acrobat Reader, and from the print window, you'll see that you have different size options. We're going to print the pattern pieces today in actual size. If you wanted to scale down the size of your pattern pieces, you could instead click Custom Scale, and now you can change it. Now it defaults to about 100%, but like I said in the smaller version, I chose 81%. You can make this bigger or smaller depending on what size bag you want to make. So for this project, you're going to need 1/4 yard of exterior fabric. I'm using this beautiful quilt cotton. This is part of the new line from Tula Pink called Homemade. You're going to need 1/8 yard of contrasting fabric. This is just the sides of the bag. I really like using vinyl, and today I'm using this white patent vinyl, which is super pretty. I got this from My Punk Broidery. For the lining, you're going to need 1/3 yard of fabric. I'm just using quilt cotton today, and this is by Art Gallery Fabrics. For the interfacing today, I'll be using 2/3 yard of this SF101 by Pellon. I'll also be using 1/4 yard of this Pellon 808 interfacing. This just gives the bag more of a crisp feel. You could also use Decoville Light, Pellon 809. You're going to also need coordinating thread for your bag. I'm just using Aurifil 40 weight. The pattern calls for a 14-inch or longer zipper. I actually got this zipper tape from Wizardry Stitchery Crafts. I'll have a link for them down below. I also got my zipper pull from them. This is actually zipper tape with plastic teeth. These look like metal, but they're not. They're plastic, so you can totally sew over them. I have a 16-inch piece cut here today because I'm going to be doing my zipper just a little bit different than Lauren does in the pattern, and I'm going to show you how I do that. To go along with my different way of doing my zipper, I have a 2-inch by 2-inch cut of exterior fabric. This will serve as one of these zipper tabs on the end of the zipper. So now let's talk about the pattern pieces. For the lining, you're going to need 2 cuts cut on the fold using the lining template. These will both need to be interfaced with SF101. For the center of the exterior, you're going to need 2 cuts of your exterior fabric. These will both need to be interfaced with SF101 as well as your craft fuse or your Decoville Light. I'm going to show you how I fuse this together using the Pellon 808 in the next step. And last, you're going to need your 2 side panels. Now remember, you're going to cut 2 of each of these templates because the front and the back both require side panels. This is just that beautiful white patent that I'm using today. If you're using vinyl, you don't need to interface these. All right, so let's talk about working with this Pellon 808 craft fuse. This is almost like a piece of paper. It's very stiff. You have one side that is not shiny and one side that is shiny. Depending on your lighting, it can be kind of hard to tell the difference. I have interfaced it the wrong way before. You're going to want to have shiny side up, just like this, and then lay your exterior fabric over that shiny side so that it's right side up. I do find it fuses better if we fuse from the top of the right side of the fabric versus the back of the craft fuse. So it does fuse fairly quickly. I have found that if you use steam, it speeds up the process quite a bit. And there you go. Now you have your craft fuse fused onto your fabric. All right, so let's build the exterior panels. To do this, you're going to need your center exterior panel as well as your 2 side panels. You're going to need 1 of each kind of side panel on the left and the right. And all we have to do is fold these right sides together along that long edge. I like to line up the very top. If you notice that the bottom is a little bit longer, that's totally okay. We'll clean it up in the next step. But I do like to make sure that the top of my panels are lined up. Now all you have to do is clip these 2 panels together. Once you have one side clipped on, I just go ahead and clip on the other side as well. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the same thing with the other exterior panel. And once again, I'm just going to clip the side panels onto the main center panel, right sides together. Okay, now we're going to take our panels to the sewing machine and we're going to sew along all of those clipped edges at 3/8 inch seam allowance. All right, once you have your side panels sewn on, it should look something like this. Now what we want to do is fold open those side panels and give them a good press. If you're using vinyl, you're probably going to want to just finger press this. Don't get your iron involved here. And we're going to open up both sides on both panels. And when you press this open, make sure that the seam stays behind the side panel. And we're going to top stitch on the side panel at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance from this center seam. What that does is just hold these side panels down really nice and crisp, and it keeps this seam allowance attached to the side. All right, once you have your top stitching done, your panels should look just like this. I will warn you that this patent white vinyl is very tricky to top stitch on just because it's so sticky. I used my silicone presser foot and I still had a hard time with it. So down in the description below, I'm gonna put some links for other vinyls that are not so difficult to top stitch on and that you don't need a silicone presser foot to use. For example, the vinyl on the sides of this bag here is not so sticky, and I didn't have any problem with my sewing machine and the regular metal presser foot going over it, so I'll have a link for this down below. All right, so let's talk about the zipper. In the pattern, she has you attaching the zipper to the top of the panel. Very basic, very easy. Go ahead and do that if you're more comfortable, but I wanted to show you another way to add the zipper so that we don't have the zipper tape in the side seams in the end. So first, let's build our zipper tab. So lay your zipper tab right side down, and all we're going to do is fold it in half and then press along that fold. Now open it back up and fold the parallel edges up to meet that crease. So really what we're doing is we're just hiding two of the longer edges. Now this is a square piece of fabric, so you can do this in any direction really. All right, once they're both meeting that middle line, just fold the whole thing in half. And there you go. There's your zipper tab. Just set that to the side. So now grab your zipper. If you're using zipper tape like I am, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell which side is the open side, which side is the closed side. So when you pull your zipper to one side or the other and it opens, that's your open side. So we're going to be dealing with the closed side. So this is my open side. This is my closed side. See, as I move it away from this edge, it closes it. As I move it towards that edge, it opens. We're working on the closed edge, not the open edge. If you want, you can go ahead and separate your zipper teeth so that you know this is your open edge. That's not where the zipper tab goes. On the closed edge, take your zipper tab and just wrap it around the edge of your fabric and make sure that your zipper tab is overhanging on both sides of that zipper tape. And then just clip this in place. Now we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're just going to sew along this edge that's in towards the zipper at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, once you have your zipper tab sewn on, just go ahead and trim down the edges so that it's the same width as your zipper tape. So once you have your zipper tab on, we're going to measure 13 inches from the end of our zipper tab. So line up your zipper tab with your ruler and just make sure it's nice and flush against the ruler, and then mark a line on the very outer edge of your zipper tape on both sides at 13 inches. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fold each of these sections of the zipper tape down at a 90-degree angle so that the zipper doesn't fly off when we're opening and closing it, and also so that the zipper tape doesn't get in the side seams of the bag. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So where you have one of your marks, fold the zipper tape, wrong sides together, just like this. So what I do is I just pinch my finger on the zipper tape, and you can see that the zipper naturally wants to go back up and twist, and that's what we want it to do. We want the zipper tape to go up and twist at a 90-degree angle. So pinching that tape and pushing the back of the zipper tape against it, you can come up with something like this. The zipper tape is just folded over itself. The zipper goes at a 90-degree angle. There's no folds on the zipper. The back of the zipper tape looks just like this with a 45-degree fold on the zipper tape. And then just clip this in place before we take it to the sewing machine. All right, let's do the same thing for the other side. So I'll show you again. So once again, where our mark is, pinch it so that the zipper tape is wrong sides together. And like you can see, the zipper tape, it just wants to naturally go back, and just let it do that. You're just going to push it back like that so that the fold that we were pinching is right up against that zipper tape, and then clip in place. And so your zipper tape should look just like this. I know it seems a little crazy, it seems a little difficult. I promise, give it a try. Feel it out. Once you get the hang of it, it's very, very simple, and it's a great way to finish off zippers without having the zipper tape in the seam allowance. So now we're going to go to the sewing machine, and we're just going to go over the edges to baste them down. We just want to sew over the edge right here at that corner. To help keep this all together at the machine and not lose this, I like to use a stiletto. I got this on Etsy. I'll have a link for them down in the description below. I've never talked to the shop or anything like that. These are just really pretty and they're really useful. And what I'll do is I'll hold it down just like this right up until it gets to the needle without getting this under the needle. Just to help it, it's like that third hand that you need. All right, so your zipper tape should look something like this now. From the 90-degree angle of your open side of your zipper tape to the end of your zipper tab should be 13 inches. You can see if I pull the zipper all the way up, it won't fly off. That angle keeps it from going anywhere. And there we go. We'll trim these down in a later step when we're making the bag. So before we attach the zipper, if you have any of your side panel that's a little bit longer on the bottom, go ahead and trim that down now. All right, so to attach the zipper, the first thing we want to do is find the midpoints of both the zipper and the outer panel. So to do that, I just fold the outer panel together. You can do right sides or wrong sides together. You can crease it. So if you have that craft fuse, it'll stay creased for quite a while. I also like to mark it. And then I'll do the same thing with my zipper. I find it's easiest to fold them wrong sides together. Make sure you line up that 90-degree angle of your zipper tape with the end of your zipper tab and mark that midpoint. You can do this on both sides of your zipper. Now take your zipper with the zipper tab on the right side and lay it right side down, lining up the midpoint mark of your zipper tape with the midpoint of your exterior panel, and then just clip in place. Now we're just going to baste down this zipper tape using an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, just going along that clipped edge. Once you have your zipper basted on, grab one of your lining panels and lay it right side down, right side against the exterior right side. So that zipper should just be sandwiched in between, and we're just going to clip the lining panel to that exterior and zipper tape along that top edge. Okay, so now we're going to sew along this clipped seam at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, after you have your lining installed, you can go ahead and trim down that excess zipper tape. And now what we want to do is we want to press the lining and the exterior together, wrong sides together. To help with that, what I like to do is just kind of clip the bottom edges of the fabric together. And then when you press it, I suggest pressing it from the lining side to avoid having your iron touch the vinyl. So now we want to go back to the sewing machine and top stitch along this top edge next to the zipper. Again, I'm going to be using a silicone presser foot for this because this vinyl is so sticky. You could also use tissue paper and cover the vinyl as you go over the tissue paper to help the presser foot from sticking to this. All right, so this is where you should be at. Your zipper should now be attached with the exterior and the lining top stitched down. We're going to go ahead and repeat that process for the opposite side. So take your other exterior panel and fold it in half so you can find the midpoint along the top of your bag, and then just mark it. Now take your unit with the zipper installed and lay it exterior right side down with the zipper right side down, and match up that midpoint mark on your zipper tape with that midpoint mark on the other exterior panel, and then just clip these units together. All right, once again, let's just go and baste on this zipper tape at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now we have the zipper basted on. Make sure you have the zipper tape facing the wrong side up so you have lining from the other side, right side up. grab your last lining piece and lay it right side down so it's lining right sides together. But we're going to line this up with that raw edge that we just basted the zipper on and clip it in place. Now let's take this to the sewing machine and we're going to sew along this edge at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So now if you have any of that zipper tape hanging out over like I do, go ahead and trim that down. So just like before, we want to take the lining panel and the exterior panel that are on the side of the zipper we just sewed and pull those wrong sides together, just like this. And then we want to press along the seam by the zipper. Once again, I suggest doing this on the lining side. So now we're going to go to the sewing machine and just top stitch along that edge that we just sewed onto the zipper. All right, so this is what you should have now. Your exterior is attached to the zipper. Everything is top stitched. You can see that the top of my exterior panels where the corners of the side panels come up, they don't match. Honestly, in the end, you won't even notice. So if you're having the same problem, I don't stress out about it, but you can always adjust these as necessary to get them to be perfectly matched up if it's something that's important to you. As you can see on the lining panel, I did include my label. For those that ask, I have a link down in the description below. It's from Inked Papers on Etsy, and I have a discount code for you if you want to buy your labels from them. So to build the bag, first, make sure your zipper is about halfway unzipped. Take your exterior panels and fold them up right sides together, leaving the lining panels down. I like to make sure I match up those side panel seams first and then clip in place. And what we want to do is we want to clip together all of the long straight edges. Don't worry about these boxed edges here. We're not going to be sewing those yet. So I start with the bottom and then I pull the lining panels right sides together. And then I work my way along the side of the exterior panel. At the seam between the exterior and the lining, make sure that the raw edges of the seam are pointing down towards the exterior and the teeth are pointing in towards the lining. And then just clip that together. Okay, I'm going to pin the other side of the exterior now. All right, once you have the exterior pinned together, let's work on the lining. So on the lining, I'm going to do the sides first, just clipping them all together. On the bottom edge of the lining, you're going to want to mark a 4 or 5 inch opening to berth the bag in the end. Just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do 5 inches because it can be kind of tricky with that thick vinyl. And then clip that bottom edge as well. Okay, so this is the only other change I make in the pattern. I start on the lining side panel on the bottom at a 5/8 inch seam allowance. As I get up towards that middle seam between the exterior and the lining, I decrease my seam allowance to a 1/2 inch, and then I continue a 1/2 inch seam allowance on the exterior panel. I'll do that for both sides of the bag. So again, on the other side, starting at a 5/8 inch on the lining side, go up towards the middle, decrease down to a 1/2 inch as I go, and then continue on with a 1/2 inch on the exterior. On the exterior bottom, I sew the entire thing at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And on the lining bottom, I sew the two ends, leaving the hole open at a 5/8 inch seam allowance. I like the seam allowance on my lining to be a little bit bigger than my exterior so I don't have a baggy lining. This is totally optional. You can sew the entire thing at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. This is just what I prefer. As I'm going over the edges, regardless of what the seam allowance is supposed to be, I want to make sure I don't include the zipper or the zipper tab under my needle. So the whole point of doing the zipper the way we did it was to keep it out of these bulky seams. So as I get to these middle seams, I'm very cautious about where my zipper end and my zipper tab are, making sure I don't sew over those. To get as close as possible to those without going over it, I will be sewing the sides with a zipper foot. Okay, so you should have the bottoms of your exterior and the lining sewn and the sides as well. What I'm going to do is on the exterior side, I'm going to go over these one more time. So on the sides and the bottom of the exterior side only, I'm going to do another row of stitches just about a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch towards the edge of the fabric, right next to that previous row of stitches. This is just going to make sure that around that vinyl, whenever the vinyl is being pulled, when we turn the bag out, you don't see these stitches in the end result. All right, now we're just going to trim down all of our edges down to about an 1/8 of an inch. When you're trimming down the seam allowance on the bottom of the lining panel, make sure to trim down the seam only where there are stitches. So where that opening is in the middle, we're going to leave that seam allowance quite large. That's going to help us in the end when we have to turn it and then close up that hole. All right, let's box these corners. So take your corner unit, and on the corner of the fabric, not where there's stitches, stick your fingers in and just kind of pull it. What we're going to do is we're making these seams come together, and how I like to line them up is I just center them on one another, and then I fold the seams in opposite directions so they're giving each other a little hug, and then just clip these together. I clip in the middle, and then I add a couple extra clips on the ends, just like that. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with the other 3 corners. Just pulling and then matching up that center, and then just push them in opposite directions. Do the same with the exterior. All right, once you have all of your corners boxed, let's go to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew all of these closed at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, here we go. Let's turn this bag right side out. So I like to reach in and unzip the zipper all the way, and then just very gently work on turning the bag. If you use really thick vinyl like I did, this might take a little extra work. Just put your hand inside to poke out those corners and the edges. Try to pop out that zipper tab, just like that. All right, it's looking cute. All right, so before we finish up this bag, let's go ahead and close this hole on the bottom. So all you have to do is flatten it out nicely, tuck those flaps that we left uncut down, and then just tug on the corners of the seam just like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exact. Just get those edges in there so that we can easily top stitch this. All right, now let's take this to the sewing machine and top stitch along this little pinned opening at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, once you have your lining closed up, just push that inside your bag. Push it all around to make sure it's lined up nicely in there. It looks so cute. Oh my goodness, that's cute. All right, so you might notice that if you use the craft fuse, it is very, very crinkly. Craft fuse is great, but it does crinkle a lot during the birthing. I had a bunch of you guys reach out to me and tell me that I should be using one of these tailor's hams. This is just something that we can stick inside the bag to help us iron it, because normally I would stick my hand inside the bag and iron over the bag with my hand underneath it. I know, don't do that. So we're gonna try out this tailor's ham. So I just stuck that tailor's ham in there, and I'm just gonna go over. I'm gonna use some steam too, making sure I don't touch the vinyl. All right, let me do the other side. Okay, and now I'm just gonna kind of hold it in there for the bottom. right, and I just kind of like to pinch along that edge where my box corners are. There we go. Zip it up. Oh yeah, that's so cute. All right, are you ready for the final reveal? Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Can we just talk a minute too about the fabric from Tula Pink? Holy guacamole. Oh my gosh. All right, so here's our peekaboo pouch. Beautiful, beautiful vinyl. I would not suggest using this vinyl if you are a beginner sewer or if you have a domestic machine that you know doesn't handle thick layers very well. I will tell you that when I was making this bag today, I broke a needle going over all the layers of the vinyl. I did not have that happen on the other bags that I made. I think it's just because this vinyl is thicker and very, very sticky. It was just a little bit too much for my machine. But look at how stinking cute this is. You see, since we did that double stitch on the sides, we don't have any of the thread showing here, which we get a lot of times when we're making bags. You know, you open it up and then this pulling of the vinyl, you see those stitches there. Doubling up your seams is going to strengthen them so you don't have that problem. Oh my goodness, let's look at the top. This beautiful zipper, right? Oh, love the zipper. Open it up nice and wide, fit lots and lots of stuff in there. Man, oh man, oh man. So I'm just going to say it. This is a great quarantine project. I don't want to use the Q word, but we are all pretty much quarantined, right? This is a great, quick project. It's satisfying. It gets your sojo going. If you decide you want to ramp it up a little bit and make it a little bit crazier, you can totally do that. If you just want to get something done from start to finish in one day to make you feel better and maybe put a roll of toilet paper in, this is your bag. This is a really, really fun bag. So Lauren, thank you so much for allowing me to film this video. Most of you, probably all of you, already follow Lauren on YouTube. If not, of course, I will have her link to her YouTube channel and the pattern down in the description below. This is such a fun bag to make. I highly encourage you to give it a shot. I don't know what kind of week it's going to be this week. It's probably going to be another interesting one, but I'm going to make sure I have a great week, and I hope you decide to do the same. Thank you so much for watching today. Get out there and make something.